Hey everyone, welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling episode 4. I'm Denise Salcedo and welcome to the stream. I am so happy to have you all here today. It is the October 21st edition of this show and we have so much to talk about. I mean, just with tonight alone, so much in the world of wrestling occurred here, but we are also going to be talking about the G1 Climax. Since the last several weeks, we have been watching the G1 each and every single week. We have been discussing it. So today I will be discussing the G1 finals at the top of the show. And then I'm going to go into all of the madness that occurred on AEW and NXT here tonight. And then for our last part of the show, I will be discussing my predictions for Bound for Glory this Saturday. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and get started. But before I do want to send you all a quick reminder that if you send in any super chats throughout this stream, it is not only greatly appreciated, but I will go ahead and read your comment or statement, whatever it is that you send out in your super chat for today. And F4W is nice enough to let me keep 100% of the proceeds of any super chats that are sent in through this stream. So if you guys if you're feeling a little generous, feel free to send over some super chats in my direction. But let me go ahead and kick off the night and check out some of your comments. First of all, I want to give some shout outs to everybody who is in this chat. This is a very chat active show. So if you want to, just be part of the stream, make sure to send in a chat. I'm very friendly. We have one kicking it off with Ryan Smith who says, hello, Denise. And we have Abhinaf who says, hey, Denise, sorry, I can't super chat for the stream, but I'm going to watch. You know what? The fact that you are here, I am very, very thankful. So thank you so much. Mark Hale starts us off with Coda. Yes, we are gonna get into that. Don't worry. And then also welcome to Shane. Shane says, finally get to watch this live. This makes me so happy. And oh my God, we are getting our first super chat of the evening. Thank you so much to Bobby AJ for starting us off today. You are so awesome, Bobby. He says, I should be mad because Chris Jericho and MJF did what was essentially bad comedy, something we escaped WWE for. But damn it, they did such a good job that I loved it. LMAO. Boy, I have a lot to say about that, but we are going to save that for our AEW segment when we get to that. But I'm just going to start off by saying that it was one of the most unexpected things that I've seen in wrestling in quite some time, especially AEW. I don't think that I saw this coming whatsoever, but I loved it. But I will kind of go into that a little bit more once we get into AEW, the AEW portion of our show. But Bobby, AJ, thank you so much for kicking us off with our first super chat of the night. You are awesome. All right, let's just go ahead and kick it off, everybody. So we are going to start off by talking about the G1 Climax 30 finals. So it is officially, Kota Ibushi has won the G1 Climax for the second time in a row after defeating Sonata in what was a grueling, lengthy battle. And I, for one, am happy because when they announced the A block and the B block, I went on Twitter and I said that Kota Ibushi was going to be winning the G1. And guess what? I called it. I also said that he was going to be in the finals with Sonata. So first of all, congratulations, guys. You now all know a psychic because I guessed it and I am so proud of that. But basically what I want to discuss about here today is sort of just like general topics revolving the G1. So I put out a Twitter poll. For those of you who do not know, I am very active on Twitter. You can follow me there at _ Denise Salcedo or on Instagram at _ Denise Salcedo. So I put out a poll and I want you guys to answer this on the chat too, but I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off. So I asked several questions, one of which was, who do you think had the best matches consistently throughout the G1? So Twitter had several answers for me. The several answers were Ishii, Ibushi, Shingo, Suzuki, Jay White, Will Ospreay, and Tanahashi. Those were the answers that I got. However, I will say, though, that out of all of those names that you just read, Ishii was the one that got the most picks. Like, everybody was just like, Ishii, Ishii, Ishii. Consistently great stuff. And And I said this from a start, guys. I said that the guys that I had been liking the most on the G1 were Kota Ibushi, Minoru Suzuki, and Ishii. But I'm going to have to say it, guys. My MVP, my most valuable player for the G1 was definitely Ishii. I thought that all of his matches were so entertaining. He had the most matches on my favorites list. And so I have to agree with the people that Ishii is the MVP. And Brian Rose, our friend Brian Rose, says Ishii is the MVP for sure. But what do you guys think? Go ahead and send in your chats. I want to see what you guys are all saying. Gatecrasher Forever says that his MVP was Shingo. I have some interesting comments on Shingo in a second. The Truth Patriot also names Ishii as the MVP of this G1. Wrestling Fandom says easily Tomohiro Ishii. He's the MVP of the G1 every year. And D-Train says Ishii is a total bad ass. I think badass is definitely the proper word here. Bobby AJ says, I think Zack Sabre Jr., Ishii, or Kota Ibushi had the best matches. Yeah, can't disregard Zack Sabre Jr. because, man, he's just a really fun guy to watch work in the ring each and every single time. But Crocodiles also notes that Suzuki was an MVP for sure, and I agree. So that was one of my Twitter polls here. And then I had another question for all of you, and I want to make sure you guys go ahead and answer this. So when it comes to the G1, you all know that there's another standard. There's a higher level because you do have some of the most talented guys in wrestling working in New Japan. The bar is set a lot higher for these, stellar matches that everyone expects. So, we have so many guys, like just so many. We have so many guys, and there are certain guys that maybe you might not have expected to do as well on the G1. But first of all, we got another super chat. Thank you so much, Sandro. Sandro sent in a super chat. He says, Minoru Suzuki is my MVP. And I said this last week, guys. Suzuki is in his 50s. He's in his 50s and he is having better matches than half of the guys that I'm seeing in AEW and WWE, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Impact Wrestling, whatever promotion it is. Minoru Suzuki is slaughtering a lot of them in terms of he's just putting such great work out there and great matches that are really high quality and very, very memorable. So thank you so much for sending in the super chat. So my next question that I want you guys to answer is the one that I was kind of getting started with, which was, who surprised you the most from the G1? Like I said, the bar is raised to a whole other level. People have really high expectations of what they expect from the G1 tournament. Was there anybody that maybe you didn't expect to sort of, rise above maybe some of their matches that you didn't think you would like, but ended up liking? I asked this poll on Twitter, and the Twitter response of the names that I got were Taichi, Yoshihashi, Juice Robinson, Shingo, Sonata, and Jeff Cobb. However, the ones that got the most votes were definitely Taichi and Yoshihashi. So what about you guys here on the YouTube world? What do you think? Who surprised you the most? Let's see. Gary Barr says, Kenta's heel work is massively underrated. Yes, I agree. I think there's a lot of guys that are doing really good heel work in New Japan that I would say kind of goes under the radar in terms of being underrated. So Gary Brar says that Kenta is definitely one of them. And Wrestling Fandom also adds to this by saying Kenta is awesome, one of the greatest ever, and also adds that Yoshihashi and Taichi were surprises for them as well during this G1. Shane notes Juice Robinson, for me, he did great working the crowd. Tonnell says, I think Jeff Cobb stepped up to the level that I didn't expect, kind of like Lance Archer last year. So somebody wrote to me on Twitter as well, and I have to agree with this, was that Jeff Cobb, I love Jeff Cobb, by the way. He is a great guy. We get along, all of that stuff. But I thought that his earlier matches in the G1 weren't necessarily standouts for me. However, the last several matches that he ended up having in the G1 ended up becoming like my favorite matches of the tournament itself. So I think Jeff Cobb really stepped it up to a whole other level. And I feel that the way he's presenting himself as of late has really helped him out in terms of really adding an extra element to all of the matches that he's putting out. Bobby AJ has another comment about Jeff Cobb. Bobby says, Jeff Cobb, he's underrated in my opinion. Also, Sonata has potential for greatness, but I never feel he's used to his full potential. And Gary also says, Yoshihashi, because I had the lowest expectations of him, and he performed the best relatively to his past work. And our Rig says, oh wait, hold on, I clicked on the wrong one, but Lelouch says Yoshihashi and Taichi. Our Rig says Yujiro surprised me. He wasn't going to be in amazing matches, but he was well above my expectations. The other was Cobb. It's interesting how many Cobb comments I'm getting here. Darth Thor has an interesting comment for me. He says, Denise, love your work, and my daughter loves that there is a woman reviewing something that she loves, so thank you for inspiring her. That is so awesome, and I gotta tell you, I've been seeing more women on my timeline talking about wrestling with me, and I gotta say that makes me very, very excited, because mainly I only talk to guys on Twitter. That's just the way it is. I don't mind it, but it is the way that it is. So it is nice to have, some females in there as well. But in terms of people that I think surprised me, there was a lot of different surprises for me in different ways. So in terms of someone that I didn't expect that I would enjoy their matches, I would definitely agree with most of what you guys are saying in Yoshihashi. He was definitely one of them with me. His match with Hiroshi Tanahashi was more, it was a pleasant surprise. His match with Hiroshi Tanahashi was pretty good. And in terms of someone that I became a bigger fan of during this tournament, I would say is Shingo. Shingo, I always liked him, but I wasn't necessarily crazy about him. I wasn't always like a big fan. But after this tournament, I think he's one of those guys that really stepped up a notch for me, and I became a bigger fan. And then also in terms of somebody that I kind of had like no hope for, I wasn't really interested in his matches. I would watch them because, I was reviewing the show, but I ended up enjoying them much more than I expected. I'm gonna say it's Evil, and not very many people have been saying Evil, but I gotta say that Evil pleasantly surprised me in at least through maybe 2 or so matches that I watched of his. I was very, very interested in what he was doing. But let's go ahead and continue on, because not only that, I do want to ask you guys about your favorite matches from the G1. So really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and read through the ones that I thought were just the very, very best. And here they were, guys. So at the end of the night, I went back, I looked through all of my notebooks, my really messy notes. I went back and said, okay, which matches were the ones that really did it for me throughout the G1? And I'm going to narrow it down to these. And they are in no particular order. So what you're seeing on the screen here, not in any sort of order. It is Ishii versus Suzuki, Kota Ibushi versus Okada, Jeff Cobb versus Tomohiro Ishii, Minoru Suzuki versus Kota Ibushi, Jeff Cobb versus Will Ospreay, Okada versus Will Ospreay, and Jay White versus Kota Ibushi. I definitely think those were my top picks of the night. And in terms of Twitter, I got a lot of comments that people thought Ibushi versus Suzuki and Shingo versus Okada were matches of the tournament. But let's see what you guys are saying. Okay, Abshinov says that easily Jay White versus Tomohiro Ishii was one of their favorites. And Gatecrasher says Shingo brought the Dragon Gate fire. His lariats were so stiff. And Tono says Ibushi leg kick match. DJ Gracio says he had way too many favorite. Wrestling Fandom says Taichi versus Ibushi was really great with 158 kicks. Great Casher votes Shingo versus Ospreay. Gary votes Kenta versus Yano. Wait, okay, thank you. He put LOL. I thought that was really your favorite for a second. And then we also have, DJ says probably Ibushi versus Taichi in the 150 kicks massacre match. Ha. And then Andy R says he really needs to watch the G1 now that it is over. You know what? Just because it's over doesn't mean that you can't go back and watch it. I know a lot of us sometimes we tend to watch things because it's like the trendy thing or that's what everyone's talking about. And I do see that a lot. I see that sometimes a lot of people aren't going outside of their bubble, aren't going outside of their comfort zone to maybe watch something different. So if you're on here because you're like, oh, I just want to hear Denise talk about AEW or NXT, and you haven't given, New Japan a chance or anything like that, or maybe even Impact, which I will be talking about later today. It's always really fun to just sort of bounce out of your bubble and, check out something interesting. But at the end of the day, we did have Kota Ibushi winning. He defeated Sonata. I thought the match itself was very well worked. I did think that they took too much time doing some chain wrestling at the top of this match, but so it kind of took a while to get going. But at the end of the day, Sonata is one of the few guys that can really match up with Ibushi in terms of athletically. And I thought they did a really good story here. I mean, I think at the top of the story for the beginning of the match was basically Sonata was doing all the moves that Kota Ibushi couldn't. And that was really getting the crowd into it. So that worked really nicely. If you are a big fan of psychology and psychology in wrestling, I think that you will like Kota Ibushi versus Sonata, especially if you haven't seen it. And I did think, though, that it didn't necessarily become an instant classic. I wouldn't say that it was a classic G1 match for my opinion. That's just me, though. But it was a good match, though. I will say that. Ibushi versus Naito, we're going to be seeing it at Wrestle Kingdom. I do think that I want to see Ibushi win for sure. I think that they can do so many matchups. We can see Ibushi versus Sonata again. We can see Ibushi. We can see Ibushi versus a heel Will Ospreay. That will also be fun. And just so many awesome things that you can see, even Ibushi versus Jay White. So they can definitely do a lot with that. But there you go, guys. That is our G1 Climax 30 finals discussion. I cannot believe how much wrestling, how much good wrestling we have been seeing throughout the weeks. And it's been really, really awesome to sort of, just kind of talk about the great stuff. Bobby AJ has an interesting question. He says, do you ever rant at bad wrestling? More specifically, Monday Night Raw. Do you just scream at the top of your lungs on why they can't get anything right? To be honest, I think it's not as easy for me to get really, really upset about something. If something I've thought I truly did not like, then I will say I truly did not like this. I thought this was dumb. But I think in terms of that's not something that I do very often. However, when I feel it in my heart, like, oh, this really, really bothered me, then I will say it. So, Bobby, thank you so much for asking this question. All right, so we're going to move into AEW versus NXT because holy moly, so much went down tonight. But before we get into AEW, I just want to remind you guys, please feel free to send in any super chats over my direction. Again, F4W does allow me to keep 100% of the revenue for it. So if you guys want to help a girl out, help her make some money, go ahead and send in a super chat, especially if you want me to 100% read your comment, send in a super chat because I will go ahead and read those. I try to read as many comments as I possibly can, but again, I can't read all of them. So if you want me to for sure read your comment, send in a super chat, would be really, really appreciated. But let's continue on, guys. We have tons to talk about with AEW because it was an interesting show. There was a lot of good stuff on it. And okay, I don't even know how to start this off, guys. We're going to go chronologically. This just feels like the best possible way to go about this. So we kicked off the show with the world title eliminator tournament, and it was Wardlow versus Jungle Boy. How do I say this? I'm just going to be honest, guys. I'm not a Wardlow fan. I'm sorry. Sue me. I'm not a fan. All right. I just think that Wardlow is kind of limited and a little boring. And that's me saying this in the nicest possible way ever. I thought that it should have been Jungle Boy to win this match. I thought that they would have gotten a lot more out of this, if Jungle Boy would have won this match and continued on to the next round. This match was really just Jungle Boy making Wardlow look good as best as he possibly can because Wardlow is a little limited. Like I said, there would be more upside had Jungle Boy won this match. So I mean, I thought the match was good, but when it was really just Jungle Boy doing cool moves, that was great. But when it was Wardlow really getting, the offense, it just wasn't. It wasn't for me. I was a little bit bored on that one, so I'm out on that one. All right. Tono says, gotta admit, I was hoping that Penta would win to save that Omega versus Phoenix match for later. Interesting. And then Andy R says, AEW was bonkers. I think specifically a segment that we will get into was very, very bonkers. Wrestling fandom is a little bonkers. He says Wardlow has tons of potential. I don't see it. I'm sorry. You know what? Call me a hater. I'm being a negative Nancy here, but I don't see it. I'm out on this one. And Lenny says, hey, Denise, couldn't sleep, don't feel well, so I thought I would watch you. Hey, Lenny, thank you so much for coming on to the show, and I hope this show sort of makes you feel better. And it seems to me that I am the only Wardlow hater in this stream because Nelson Wade just said, Wardlow is amazing, come on. Oh, guys, is that my unpopular wrestling opinion? I am not a Wardlow fan whatsoever. Marcus Ryan says, Wardlow might have won, but Jungle Boy will be a champion before Wardlow, in my opinion. That is probably true, and I will say that because Jungle Boy is the future of AEW. Jungle Boy in like a year has gone from like here to like up here. He has improved drastically, and that's not saying that he was like, oh, bad to begin with. No, he was already good, but he's gotten even better throughout the past year or so. So honestly, yes, Jungle Boy has a great, bright future in front of him. Stephen Fye says, what? Say it ain't so. Denise, Wardlow is awesome. Oh, guys, I am sleeping on Wardlow. I'm out on this one. Brain Man says, I really liked Wardlow and his F10 finisher. Actually, Brain Man, thank you so much for leaving this comment because that was the one thing that I actually did like from this match. He tossed Jungle Boy like a rag doll. I think he did it twice, didn't he? I think so. Well, I feel like I saw Jungle Boy get tossed around at least twice. But yeah, I definitely think Jungle Boy should have taken this one. Patrick Della Pena says, I thought Jungle Boy really deserved the win there. Patrick, thank you so much. You are on my side here because I definitely thought so too. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, Tano says, Wardlow winning also makes sense to keep the face heel dynamic for next week versus Hangman. And Abhinav says Wardlow is actually good. He just hasn't gotten to show his full potential yet. Well, I mean, he had an opportunity to impress me today, and it didn't go through. Matthew says, hi, Denise. I have an absolute crazy dream booking for you. I'll share it for the mailbag show also. Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. Yeah, feel free to send that in. All right. Let's move on, guys. I'm tired of talking about this. We're moving on to the next thing. Oh, wait, hold on. We got a super chat. Thank you so much to Ian Bright. Ian, thank you so much for sending in a super chat. You're so nice. Thank you. He says, literally loved everything you do with Wrestle Talk and F4W. But also, what is your dream final for the AEW title tournament? So I will get to that at the end. Oh, you know what? Actually, since you sent in a super chat, I might as well get to that now. Okay, so I was just scrolling down on my notes here. All right, so I'm thinking for Hangman Page versus Wardlow, it is definitely should be Hangman Page. Kenny versus Phoenix, it's definitely going to be Kenny. And then my prediction is Kenny versus Page, and then Kenny winning that to face Jon Moxley. So that is sort of my prediction there with all of that. So thank you so much to Ian Bright for sending in a super chat. You are awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Moving on. So the second world title eliminator tournament, and we have a lot to talk about here because Sonny Kiss versus Kenny Omega. And the story here is not really the match itself. It was Kenny Omega's entrance because Kenny Omega's entrance was longer than his actual match. And I didn't have a problem with that. I'm just pointing it out here. So Kenny Omega comes out and he basically has Justin Roberts read out all of his accolades and his accomplishments. I mean, he's talking about, his 5-star rated matches. He's talking about everything on here, guys. I thought that was hilarious. It was unexpected. I don't even know if unexpected is the right word. I just thought it was funny. You know what? Hey, he comes out here. He has this long intro. So what? Let's do it. He comes out. He ends up winning with the V trigger. And that's literally the entire match. I feel that this match was really just to sort of get some momentum back for Kenny because I don't think that Kenny is really where he was, where where Kenny is at right now, he doesn't necessarily have the same star power that he did going into AEW when AEW first started. So I feel that right now he's sort of starting to get some of that momentum back, starting to, re-drill it in our heads that, Kenny Omega is a star. So I do think that is sort of what we're seeing here. I mean, overall, it was fine. Sonny Kiss is a great athletic wrestler, but this match was really just to, really put over Kenny Omega. Steven says the cleaner has finally arrived. And then Wrestling Fandom says, I loved Kenny's entrance. He came off as such a cocky prick. We're definitely watching a completely different Kenny. Yeah, he is going full-blown heel turn here. DJ Gracio says, the return of the cleaner will be a glorious day. And Ryan Smith notes, the cleaner Kenny Omega is back. I think we are all very definitely excited for that. Matthew says, this has to do with dream booking. Omega wins the tournament. Moxley retains after the match against Kingston in a killer match. Then they recreate the spot and Omega stalks Moxley. Thank you so much for sending this in, Matthew. And actually, Ryan Smith's comment did remind me of something that I wanted to say. I did want to say that I think that everything that they're doing with Kenny Omega right now, or that they're starting to do, is what they should have done from the very beginning in AEW. The fact that he was sort of pushed into the shadows, I think they should have really ridden that wave of popularity that Kenny Omega had going into this AEW launch. And because he did lose some of that, that star power, I do think that what they're doing now is good, but they should have done it a lot sooner, in my opinion. All right, after this, we had another world title eliminator match, and it was Phoenix versus Pentagon. So I'm just going to say it. AEW has not been using the Lucha Brothers to their full potential. I don't know if I've ranted on here about this before, but I do not understand why they are not heavily and more featured on the show. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. The fact that they're just tonight's match was honestly just a little reminder of how good these two guys are and how much talent they have. If I were Tony Khan, if this was my roster, I would be doing so much more with them because, man, they are money makers, all right? They are cool as hell. They do cool things. Why the hell aren't they tag team champions? I'm sorry. I've said this before. I'm not big on FTR. My money is all with the Lucha Brothers. It's all with I'm not even going to go there anymore. But before I do want to finish saying, though, that this match was exactly what we expected. A lot of great spots between Phoenix and Pentagon. I mean, this was awesome. Great match. It wasn't anything different from what I expected. They gave me what I wanted. I loved this match. It was fantastic. Do more with the Lucha Brothers. Also, I am excited to see Kenny and Phoenix later on. But we do have another super chat. Thank you so much to Patrick. Patrick says, do you think this is the beginning of the build to Omega beating Moxley for the title? So that was my prediction that I did say we're going to see Omega Moxley. So I will probably go with maybe yes. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with yes, Patrick. It's the beginning. There you go. But what are you guys all saying here? I'm looking through your guys' comments. Okay. And all right, the Keys booth says, Phoenix almost killed himself again with that one move where he dropped himself on his head. And Brain Man says, Ray Phoenix is amazing. I'm not sold on Penta yet. What? How are you not sold on Penta? Brain Man, what is wrong with you? I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. Jason W says AEW is sleeping on the Lucha Brothers. They surely are, honestly. Remember what a big deal it was when they signed with AEW? And it makes me sad, guys. It really makes me sad because they were doing such great stuff with Impact Wrestling. And I kind of feel like, I get it. Like, obviously, they were going to go to WWE because we all know how, the tag team division is treated there. We all know how, Hispanic stars tend to be treated there. All of that, right? We know that. And then AEW was obviously the next move for them, but it doesn't feel like they're doing as much as they were doing when they were on Impact Wrestling. I mean, when they were on Impact Wrestling, they were having my favorite matches of the year. And I hate to be over dramatic, but I miss those matches and I miss them so much. D-Train Riot Maker says, yes, Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz too. Don't even get me started on Santana and Ortiz, because I will be here for 20 minutes talking about how they are my favorite tag team. Santana and Ortiz are actually my favorite tag team, even above the Lucha Brothers. So that should tell you everything in terms of how I feel about them. So, I'm not even going to continue on with this. Our Rig says, great match with Phoenix and Penta. They have enough tag teams. Let the brothers do singles. They can do anything. Whatever it is that they want to do, they can do it. And then Lenny says, Denise, how can you not like FTR? Oh, I've said this in the past. I don't get the FTR thing, guys. I'm sorry. You know what? We all have that one person that we just don't like. Someone says, stop crying. No, I will not stop crying until we get justice for the Lucha Brothers, all right? And for Santana and Ortiz. And then Stephen Fire says, not everyone can be the main focus all the time. We need patience for our favorites. I've just about lost patience, Stephen. When you have talent like the Lucha Brothers, you circle around the best talent. If you want the best quality of matches, you want the best content of matches, you want to win the so-called ratings war, then you put your very best in the very best spots. So that's just my personal opinion on all of this. Vladimir D says, I feel the Lucha Brothers don't get pushed as hard because of a clash of styles. When they're in there with guys who don't do their Lucha matches aren't as good. Because other teams a lot of the teams aren't up to their speed. That's what it is. They're just at another level. They're at another level and not everybody can keep up. That's me rewording your comments there. All right. And Anthony Manzano says, Denise, if you don't agree with how AEW is using the Lucha Brothers, as a fan, how would you book them yourselves? I would circle around them. Honestly, I would make them a focus of the tag team division. That's what I would do. I would make them even grander stars and really just emphasize that we have the coolest tag team. And I mean, look at them. They look badass. And, when you're selling merchandise and you're trying to get when you're selling merchandise and you see all of the stuff that the Lucha Brothers have, that is automatically appealing. When you want to get a casual viewing wrestling audience, I'm talking like moms and dads and families that aren't necessarily wrestling fans, but they maybe want to go watch a wrestling show. Somebody that's going to capture their attention is going to be somebody like the Lucha Brothers. Somebody like them is going to be like, oh, you know what? Let's go watch AEW wrestling because they're going to put on some lucha. And that's cool. So they could utilize that and really draw people into the product because they have somebody like that. So that's just the way that I see things here. And then Lenny says, I think Lucha Brothers are meh. I am canceling you, Lenny. I am canceling you. And all right, let's continue on, guys. Like I said, I can go on about this forever, but I won't do that because we still have so much to get to. So the next World Title Eliminator Tournament was Colt Cabana versus Hangman Page. Hangman Page, I swear, is in all of my dream matches in my head. Every time someone asks me, oh, who's your dream match for this person? Who's your dream opponent for this person? My answer is always Hangman Page because he is incredible. I think he's such an awesome wrestler. This match with Colt Cabana, overall, it was fine. It was a fun finish. I actually really enjoyed the last several minutes of this match. Hangman Page continues on for this tournament. But now it is time to get into the most shocking, most unexpected part of AEW, and that was the dinner debonair. I'm still not saying that right. And it was essentially the steak dinner between Chris Jericho and MJF. So a lot of us, when this was all announced, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, okay, they're going to have steak. They're going to have a few laughs. It's going to be a couple of comedy spots, right? Because that's what we've been seeing. Well, it was a lot more than that. We start off, Jericho is wearing this really nice, fancy, I think maroon colored suit. I mean, the guy looks phenomenal. He looks fancy as hell. I loved it. And then they're both sort of, really making the waitress life a living hell. I think her name was Velma or Thelma. I think at some point they were calling her different names, but I'm just going to call her Velma for the sake of this. And they were basically going back and forth with ordering their steaks. Okay, they were trying to one up each other, trying to see who could go like the most rare, medium rare, all of that. And they bond over disliking Orange Cassidy. And then after that is when we go into what was the unexpected part of all of this. MJF and Chris Jericho go on into a full Broadway musical. You heard that right. A Broadway musical. I couldn't believe it, guys. I was freaking out. So they start dancing. There's chorus girls. I can't even describe this to you guys. They were singing, they were dancing. It was a scene out of a movie. It was a scene out of a Fred Astaire movie. It was amazing. And we have a super chat from Raul Ortega. Raul, thank you so much for sending in a super chat. He says, "This is why you don't need writers on your wrestling show. No one would ever think that up." Oh, I see what you're saying, because of the creativeness between MJF and Chris Jericho for this segment. I truly thought this was one of the most creative things that I have seen being done in wrestling. To be honest, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. And here's the thing, though, is that this was so outrageous that I know a lot of people are also going to hate it. Here's my sort of theory. I think if you liked it, you didn't just like it. You loved it. You thought it was amazing. You thought it was the best thing ever. But if you didn't like it, you really, really didn't like it. There's no in between, in my opinion, for this. I may be wrong, but I do think that people either really loved this or they really hated it. I thought it was funny because it was unexpected and I didn't see it coming. And whenever I can be truly surprised on a wrestling show, I appreciate that, because it sort of takes me out of this element of where, sometimes I'm watching wrestling and I'm studying and I'm thinking of my notes and I'm thinking of what I'm going to say when I'm on here, doing podcasts and reviews and all of that. But when it can take me out of that and really make me into a fan and just be like, what is happening here? Where I forget the fact that I'm reviewing a show, I have to give kudos to that. And I think that is awesome. And I think that MJF and Chris Jericho doing this were the perfect people, because there really isn't anybody else out there like a Chris Jericho, like an MJF. But what did you guys all think of this segment? Because I am seeing so many comments coming in here, and I think people are freaking out or loving it. Let's see. DJ Gracios, let's start off with you. He says, segment of the year, the decade, the century. I am so curious as to how many views that segment is going to get on their YouTube channel. If that isn't AEW's most viewed YouTube video, I would be shocked. And I don't necessarily know what their most viewed video on YouTube is. Maybe someone else can let me know. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I feel like this one should definitely be one of them. And Thies Caboose says, Cornette threw his TV out the window somewhere in Kentucky tonight. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, people that aren't necessarily into the entertainment aspect of wrestling would not like this. And I do get that. And I respect that, because there are a lot of people that when they watch wrestling, they really do just want to see the pure form, the pure art that is professional wrestling. They might not care about the additional entertainment and the hokey stuff. And I get that. I respect that. But like I said, for people like me and other people, I enjoy the entertainment aspect of it. Tuno says it was Velma. MJF kept calling her Thelma. Yeah, at one point, I think I even heard Thelma, but that might have just been my hearing issues. Nelson Wade says they should get a Tony Award. So, by the way, after this, I'm reviewing the show. I come on here to get ready for this podcast. I am so mad at myself that at this point in life, in this point in my time right now, I have only seen that one time. And I will tell you that after I'm done with this show, I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewatch this segment all over again. And I want to learn the song and I want to rewatch the dance steps. So yeah. Evan Wright says that steak dinner ruled Denise. And Lelouch points out MJF is a great singer. So someone on last week's stream brought up the whole MJF Rosie O'Donnell segment. And at that point, I had not seen it. Well, I watched it, and it was the best thing I have seen in a really long time. Watching MJF sing My Only Sunshine or whatever the song was. I thought that was great. So sort of seeing that last week and then watching this week, I can't help but to be like a fan of it. Stu Boat says, it was definitely unexpected. I still don't know how much I enjoyed it though. Gonna have to watch again. It just really took you out because it was just not something that you saw coming. Daniel says that segment was amazing. And the Keys Boost says, was the singing live or pre-taped? I couldn't tell. My guess is that it'd have to be pre-taped because something like that sounds very difficult to do live. I don't know how much experience one has to have to do that. I don't know. But then again, Jericho is a rock star, so. Vladimir Deer says, Le Dinner du Bonheur seemed to get mixed opinions. I've seen fans to say that they either loved it or hated it, no moderate opinion, which is exactly what I just said right now. And let's see, I'm going through these comments. I want to see what you guys are saying in terms of what you all thought about this. All right, I think I've read most of it. If I didn't read your comment, please resend it so that I can see it. Ryan Smith says, this was unexpectedly awesome. Shows how creative Jericho truly is and how much of a star MJF. I mean, the star power, it's there, all right? When somebody has that, you can't take it away. I'm a fan. Matt Dearling says, I was so confused at the time and didn't know if I liked it at all, but looking back, I loved it. Oh, I loved it immediately, Matt. I really did. And here's the thing is that I am a fan of like musicals. My two favorite movies, The Moulin Rouge and The Phantom of the Opera, are musicals. And so I've never really seen anything like this before. So I was a fan. Oh, we got another super chat. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much to my P789. Thank you so much for sending a super chat and says the song is called Me and My Shadow. Thank you for sending that in because I didn't even realize what the song was called. So Me and My Shadow is apparently the name of that. So thank you so much to my Pi789 for letting me know and for also sending a super chat. And Wrestling Fandom says AEW's most viewed video on YouTube is Orange Cassidy's Kid in the Crowd. Oh, is it now? Okay, that's interesting. All right. And the Keys Boost also says that he's not surprised the Orange Cassidy Kid was over. Alrighty, guys, let's go ahead and move on. I don't know how we move on from there, and I'm so excited to kind of hear the follow-up of what everybody else has to say. I'm very excited to see what Dave and Brian are going to say about this. So I'm excited for everyone's opinions on this because it is something that, like I said, was unexpected. After this, we did see Steve-O and Darby Allin do a body bag roll on a skateboarding segment. Darby Allin's crazy. That's what you should know from this. Darby Allin's crazy. He's willing to do crazy stuff. You either love it or you don't. I personally, I'm not going to lie. I'm a fan of it. So I enjoyed it. Alrighty, guys. After this, we're winding up AEW. We still got NXT to talk about and Bound for Glory predictions. So I'm going to rush through those. The main event was Butcher and the Blade versus the Bucks versus Silver and Reynolds versus Private Party. The Bucks won, and they're going to face FTR at Full Gear. After this, there was a post-match beatdown by FTR on the Bucks with Tully Blanchard coming out in a mask and sort of helping them out. The match itself was really nothing special to me. I thought it was like whatever. So pretty much everything that happened afterwards was fine. And I pretty much gave you guys all of my predictions that I had for this. Oh, we are seeing next week. So next week we're seeing Hangman Page versus Wardlow, Kenny versus Phoenix, and we're also seeing Cody versus Orange Cassidy again, which I do have to say is starting to feel a little repetitive. This is going to be for the TNT title once again, and it's going to be in a lumberjack match. Feels too repetitive. That's all I got to say about that. Someone has a funny comment. These Key Boo says, Darby Allin, that boy ate right. You know what? He reminds me of Chris Angel, you know, that guy that does all the crazy stuff and I think he still has his own Las Vegas show. I don't know. But I can definitely see Darby Allin doing that like in 30 years from now or however many years, having his own like Chris Angel type of show. I can see it. Alrighty, let's move on, guys. We are now moving on to NXT. So you know what? NXT was a really good show today. In terms of matches, Two of the matches from tonight I thought were some of the best NXT matches, TV matches. Let me correct myself. NXT TV matches that I have seen in quite some time. And the first one was the opening match. It was a triple threat match, Kushida versus Velveteen Dream versus Tommaso Ciampa. This was a really, really hot opener. And what I really liked about it was that it was really just Kushida versus Ciampa. Velveteen Dream sort of fell back in the shadows through all of this. So I'm glad that he wasn't sort of a main focus throughout this match, because I really liked the back and forth action between Ciampa and Kushida. And dang, this was such a good win for Kushida, because he was on fire, guys. He was on fire. I mean, following him, like your eyesight, following him, throughout the ring, like your eyeballs were just moving so fast because you were trying to keep up with Kushida. So great match. I really, really enjoyed it. Oh, and R. Riggs says she didn't mention Silver going off. I forgot to mention that. Thank you so much for reminding me. It was great. He's, you know what? He's doing pretty good in terms of really letting out his personality and persona. So I do like that. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and move on. So after this, we did see Bronson Reed versus Austin Theory. By the way, I am only going over the main highlights of NXT. I'm not going through everything, just so that we can get to the predictions. So Bronson Reed versus Austin Theory. What I really want to say about this is that I have not put out there into the universe not how much of a fan I am of Bronson Reed, but I do want to say that I enjoy his work and I enjoy all his matches. I'm actually a bigger Bronson Reed fan than I expected I would be. I like Bronson Reed. This was a fast-paced match. It was fun. I liked it. Austin Theory has been having really good matches the last several weeks. He's been showing a lot of athleticism and a lot of range with all of his different opponents. He lost this and apparently he quit, so that's happening. But I do have to say, though, that this was a good match. But, here's the big but. The 6-man tag between Legado del Fantasma and Ashante the Adonis, Jake Atlas, and Isaiah Swerve Scott was my favorite NXT TV match that I have seen in forever. Like, off the top of my head, something that I can remember that I really, really enjoyed from NXT TV. This is it, guys. This is it. Oh man, I loved this match. I loved it so much. I mean, it was really just a bunch of young guys doing cool stuff, moving as fast as they can, doing all of these great spots, really showing the world what they can do. And it was really coming across in this match. So I gotta say, I was a fan of it and it kept me entertained the entire time. Jake Atlas, it's crazy, by the way. He had an awesome spot where he did the Spanish fly onto like everybody that was waiting below him. That looked pretty cool. And I mean, it was just a really high impact match. Legado del Fantasma won. If you did not watch NXT yet, or if you have not seen this match, go out of your way to check it out, because it was actually a really, really good match. So I really enjoyed it. And I am sort of kind of going through your comments to see if I want to make sure I want to catch your guys' comments, anything that pertains to this segment. All right, I'm still seeing a lot of AEW comments, but yeah, I agree with you guys in terms of Silver. Nelson Wade says that he has amazing shine, and I do agree with that. Wrestling Fandom says Johnny Gargano rules. We did see the Garganos today sitting down having dinner, and they were doing like a practice spin the wheel. That was funny. Johnny Gargano was being really, really over dramatic about the fact that he had to do a cast, that he might have to do like a casket match or a buried alive match, and he just wasn't having it. I like all of the segments the Garganos have been doing. I think that they've been working out pretty fine, so good stuff. And let's continue on. The main event is kind of the main portion that we have to talk about when it comes to NXT. So the main event was Breezango versus Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch for the NXT tag team titles. The match itself was fine. It was okay, whatever. But the big stuff happened afterwards. So first of all, we have new NXT tag team champions, Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. And so we had essentially a mystery person attacking Undisputed Era. And because of this, they essentially lost out on this opportunity. And I think that after they won the match, we had a mystery person come out and sort of celebrate with them, right? And then he unmasks himself, and it's Pat McAfee. So Pat McAfee is back after his match with Adam Cole that everybody really enjoyed. It was actually a pretty decent match, but he's back. So my assumption is, and I think the main assumption that one can take from this is that he is the person, the mystery person behind all of the attacks on the Undisputed Era. So this is interesting, guys, because now we're seeing Pat McAfee on a spot that maybe none of us really might have imagined him on. My assumption is that this was supposed to be a Ridge Holland thing, but because he got injured, he's sort of taken out for a while. So I do think that they are now riding this new wave with Pat McAfee. So this is going to be very interesting to see where this is going. I don't know where it's going, but what do you guys all think about this? Let's see. I'm going through your guys' comments here. And so now some Wade says Gargano is a geek. I like Gargano. I really, really do. And I'm going through, we have a lot of people do not like, or we have a few people that do not like Johnny Gargano, except for AR. AR says Johnny Gargano is the best NXT wrestler. I do agree with that. I don't know how anyone cannot like Johnny Gargano. All right, I'm going through your guys' comments. Okay, D-Train says, Birch and Lorcan are a good tag team, deserved the win. And Ryan Smith points out Pat McAfee is back. Andy R says, the legend, Pat McAfee. And Nelson Wade says, Pat McAfee, the greatest punter of all time. And OK says Dexter Lumis should be NXT champion. You know what? I'm not there yet on that one. I still think that there's another layer missing to Dexter Lumis to sort of take him that level for me. And Tono says, if it is Pat McAfee, it would be underwhelming in my opinion. I really do think that it's Pat McAfee. And OK says, what do I think about Dexter Lumis? I think he's creepy. He has that really good creepy vibe, but I still need something a little bit more to sort of get him to that next level. So guys, next week it's going to be really jam-packed with AEW and NXT because Halloween Havoc is next week for NXT. So that should be really, really fun. So I think both shows are going to be pretty good next week. But before we get into that, we do have one final segment for today's show, and we are going to jump into Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory prediction. So Bound for Glory is taking place this Saturday, and I don't know how many of you guys watch Impact Wrestling on here, or how many of you guys are fans, how many of you guys are not, but I do want to say that if you haven't given Impact Wrestling a chance, check them out because they really do put on great shows, and they never let you down when it comes to, like, especially the big pay-per-views. And looking at the Bound for Glory card, it is stacked, guys. It is stacked. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the match card here, and we're just going to run through our predictions really quickly. Make sure to share yours. Let's kick it off first with I'm going to work it backwards. We're going to start it off with the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So my prediction here is that it's going to be Heath, because if Heath wins, he's going to be part of the roster. So because of that, I think that he has more of an incentive to actually win this match. So my prediction for that one is definitely Heath there. Nelson Wade says, I miss TNA. What? The actual name TNA. All right, let's continue on but go ahead and share your thoughts though, guys. Who do you think is going to win for this? My prediction, like I said, is Heath. I do think that he is going to win and then turn on Rhino, because I know a lot of people are expecting them to re-team up. I don't think so. I think that he's gonna, turn heel, turn on Rhino, and then essentially go for the world title. So I do think that is what we're going to be seeing in terms of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. But moving on, so after that, let's discuss Eddie Edwards versus Ken Shamrock. And Ken Shamrock is going to be having Sami Callihan at his side. So here's the thing. Ken Shamrock is a little limited when it comes to this, but the fact that he is in the ring with one of the best workers, and that is Eddie Edwards, I do think that he will be having a decent match, and Eddie Edwards will, drive him there. However, I do think that Eddie Edwards will be taking the win here, and that's pretty much my thoughts on this one here. And I'm looking at your guys' comments here, and Anthony says, Denise, before you get into Impact Bound for Glory pay-per-view predictions, can you please read my comment about Ashanti, Isaiah, and Jake as a stable and what you would call them? What I would call them? I think I would have to put a little bit more thought into that, Anthony. So if I come up with something, I'll go ahead and circle back to this. And then D-Train says, I watch Impact more thanks to Denise's recommendation. It's worth watching. Thank you so much, D-Train. Marcus Ryan says, if we don't see the inflatable pumpkin for Halloween Havoc, I will be disappointed. Marcus Ryan, you will not be the only one, my friend. So will I. So will I. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So after this, we do have EC3 versus Moose, and this is supposed to be in an undisclosed location, unsanctioned match. My guess is that this is going to be a cinematic match, and I think this might be the best match we will be seeing Moose in, that's for sure. And I also do think that EC3 should be the one winning this match. He is on another high right now, and he's been doing a lot of great stuff with the Control Your Narrative character, so I really do think that EC3 should win this one. Now, here's the interesting one. This is the four-way tag team title match here, and we have the Motor City Machine Guns as the champions versus Ace Austin, and Madman Fulton versus the North versus the Good Brothers. For this one, I do think the Motor City Machine Guns should retain because they can still do more matches with them. They're still not done yet, still got a good leg to go, and I don't necessarily think that the other teams like the Good Brothers necessarily need to win the bout. So my pick for this one is the Motor City Machine Guns. And this is the one that I am a little bit torn about, more torn because I'm not necessarily completely sure which direction they're going to go in. And this is the X Division Championship 6-way scramble match. It is Rohit Raju, who is the champion, versus Jordan Grace versus Willie Mack versus TJP versus Chris Bay versus Trey Miguel. First of all, there is a whole lot of talent in this match. Willie Mack is honestly one of my favorite wrestlers. Like, that's honest to God, my true opinion. I love Willie Mack. And I think TJP and Chris Bay and Trey Miguel are so gosh darn talented. However, I do think that Trey Miguel should win this match because he really needs the win more than some of the other people here. And Impact has given him a singles push for a while, but they haven't really done much with him. So he needs it a lot more. But I won't be surprised if they give this to Jordan Grace or have Rohit keep his belt. I mean, they could honestly go multiple directions with this match. And I'm going to go ahead and read your comments. As soon as I'm done, I'm just going to go through the rest. Next up, we have Deonna Purrazzo versus Kylie Rae. So this one is kind of a toss-up as well. Kylie has a lot of stamina right now, but I do think that there is a lot more money in the chase for Kylie Rae to chase the belt more. And Deonna Purrazzo, I mean, man, everybody that I talk to puts her over so much. Like, she is very well liked. So I definitely do think that Deonna Purrazzo will be retaining. And lastly, in what I think might be one of the matches of the night, or maybe match of the night, it is for the Impact World Championship. Eric Young will be defending the belt against Rich Swann. This one, definitely, I think Eric Young should win because he still has a lot left in him as a champion, but this is overall going to be a really good match. But let me go ahead and read your guys' comments and see what you guys are saying. So Anthony Mazzano picks Trey Miguel as well, like I did. Super Crazy picks Willie Mack. And then Anthony Manzano also picks Deonna Purrazzo. And I'm looking through your guys' comments. Lenny says that he thinks the Good Brothers will win the tag match. Nelson Wade says Jordan Grace is winning the title. And then Lenny says that his basement is the undisclosed location. And D-Train Riotmaker is going for the Good Brothers. And everybody is looking like they're going for EC3, including Anthony, the Keysbow, and all right. And Lou Pickney says, agreed on Rich Swann. He is a great talent. I agree too. Rich Swann has been doing awesome work. All right, guys, there you have it. That is today's show. Wow, we went through so much. We talked about the G1. We talked about AEW. We talked about NXT. I mean, we really went through it all here. So I honestly had a great time chatting with you all. I want to thank you so much for coming back to my show each and every single week. I would really appreciate it if you guys tweeted me, let me know what you guys thought on the show. Let me know what you guys are really enjoying from the show, what you would like to see more of. I'm very open to feedback, so please make sure to hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram at _ Denise Salcedo. Also on Twitter, I am almost about to hit 10,000 followers, and it's so annoying that I haven't gotten there yet. I'm like less than 200 away. So if you're in a good mood and you're feeling like you want to be my friend, come on over to Twitter at _ Denise Salcedo. I am very active on there. So I think we'll have a good time. Also, okay, so next week, guys. So next week, because it's like the last, it's the 28th. So it's a couple days before Halloween. I am gonna come in a surprise costume. So next week, Denise Salcedo will not be looking like this. I will be dressed up as somebody, but I will not tell you who. You will have to come on to the show and find out. So next week is going to be our Halloween special, so to speak. It's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about Halloween Havoc and all of that great stuff. Also, before you go, please make sure to spread the word that you guys are enjoying the show, whether it be in the YouTube comment section, give it a like, whatever you guys want. Tweet people, tweet F4W, let them know that you're really liking my show. It would really mean a lot to me. All right, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you so much for everybody who came in here today. I will see you guys next week for our Halloween special. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tweet everybody that you love this show, and I will see you guys next time. Love you all, and goodbye. Bye, everyone.